And that kind of leads into maybe she's sort of trying to help you out with a possibility if that did happen, which is, have you ever considered a complete switch of genre? For example, taking your writing style and applying it to dramatic science fiction.
Yeah, okay, there's a lot there.
There's a lot there, I know. I'm sorry if I kind of piled it on, but I kind of saw it as kind of connected there.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that, first of all, I am just coming out of a period that I suffered for 2 or 3 years, I would say, where I had absolutely no interest in writing at all.
Yeah.
So I think that I hit, it didn't seem like writer's block as I understand it, more just a sense of what a huge effort it is to go into character,
Yeah.
you know, to go that deeply and to
Commitment.
try to, yeah, and time commitment, and my stories take so long, and every time I had to gear up for it, you know, I had to gear up for it, so the pleasure had gone out of it.
And revising, knowing that you're going to be into this for a long time,
Yes.
given your habits as a reviser.
Yeah. Yeah, and knowing that every morning when you wake up, the story has somehow changed overnight, and what you thought was completely true the day before is so no longer true. I mean, it's sort of like, I just didn't have the heart for it.
Was that painful to you, Anne? Because when I go through periods like that, I hear you use the word suffer. It hurts. I feel very unhappy when I endure that kind of suffering.
I was in denial about my hurt on that. I basically was, you know, I've often said to my students, if you don't need to write, don't. Because it's, you know, that's an old, we've all heard that from our teachers before. And I was saying that to myself, I don't need to write. Why should I? Basically.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to go there. I started to mistrust character, you know. It's sort of like, it felt like a lie to make things up. And I had a good colleague at NAU, where I teach, who said, why don't you try telling this story? I had told her something that's very close to me. Why don't you try telling this in nonfiction? Why don't you try this with memoir? And sheer terror came to me. And I have learned in my at important junctures in my write as a lifer that sheer terror is good for writing.
Yeah.
You know, so I did. I went in and found moments of embarrassment and started to pinpoint those places as places where I had something to say as a memoirist. So I'm now exploring that form, and I agree with what you say. Becky, it's not that you can escape that deep investment in character that I thought I was escaping. It's another kind of deep investment where you peel back layers of truth and try to find the language to express it, you know.
I read something in, what was I, Rolling Stone yesterday when I was waiting to get my hair colored.
It looks beautiful. I noticed it when you were out there in the sun. It's gorgeous.
It would normally look a lot more like yours, right? I think the last time we saw each other, we were like, hey. Anyway, so there was somebody was talking about writing their memoir. They had, but what she had said was, it's an intrinsically narcissistic endeavor. And I was like, I do not agree with that at all. I did never come from a point of, I understand narcissism. In this life, we know from narcissists, and my writing in memoir or fiction or poetry, none of it comes from narcissism. It does come from doubt, for me. It comes from fear, and you know, it comes from needing something that I don't even know what it is yet. But I've come to trust that this is the best way to try to find out, you know.
Yeah.
And I do not think that is a narcissistic impulse at all. I think that's the antithesis of narcissism, you know. So I think it's a really generous form, and I think there's a really beautiful connection that's made between all, you know, authors and their readers, for sure. But it's definitely, you know, very specific to the memoirist. A lot of trust going on there.
Yeah, yeah. I love that notion of it comes from doubt. I mean, doubt in not just the ability to express it, but in the ability to remember it emotionally and not to distort it. You know, you don't want to, what they say is you want to go into memoir so you can remake your life and you know, make you a hero in your own life.
Oh, gosh.
And, you know, and that fear of pulling back from that.
Right.
I mean, my tendency is to want to pull back from that. But, you know, you pull back far enough and you stop writing, basically.
Well,
you
of
know?
course. That's exactly, that will happen. You know, I mean, that's why people don't do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or they take a course in memoir and they say, why should I do this? And I'm like, I don't know, you're taking the class.
I know.
Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you
Yeah.
why you're doing it. I know why I do it, and I know why my friends do it. But I can't speak for anyone that isn't ready. I guess you know, to actually just, you know, writers write. That's what we do, or we don't.
What I did learn, though, is in answer to your student's question about the Megan, that's her name.
I think this one's Gabrielle.
Oh, Gabrielle, yeah. You know, I was exhilarated to find a new form in memoir, you know, and to rediscover the pleasure of writing. That was, and to remember, and to understand that I had been suffering when I was not writing. And I really honor that feeling that came to me to stop when I was faking it. And I was faking it with the short story and with fiction.
Wow.
I had gotten to that point. But I have been drawn to fantastic fiction in some of my short stories.
Okay. Please speak about that. I mean,
yeah, well, again,
fabulism. What is what Michael Martone calls it, fabulism, right?
Yeah.
Is that the term that you use as well?
Yeah. For me, it was there was an experience, and there's a story in my short story collection called The Hypnotist Trailer. And it comes from an incident when I was in high school on the reservation, where a hypnotist came to town.
Came to town.
Came to town. You know, they used to have assemblies, and we all would assemble and watch what they had brought in for us. But this hypnotist was terrific. He did a trick where he pretended to take people's navels. And he would, and so that always stuck with me. The idea of stealing somebody's center, and the idea there. I tried it in character-driven realist fiction in several ways. Never worked. And it didn't take off until I decided to make that hypnotist a real kind of hypnotist, you know, a magical figure, and the belly button, a magical thing that could transform. And I had a lot of fun with that story.
That's good to hear.
But it came from the same place that my other stuff comes from. It
Right.
came from, you know, my experience and memory.
So, I mean, we certainly don't limit ourselves by our, you know, choices from
Yeah.
one story to the next, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a new opportunity. So, it's just a lot of my students are very, very concerned about the nature of the genre that they are, you know, that they enjoy reading the most, and therefore feel like they should probably be writing. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's an interesting question.
I always think in people who are writing sci-fi or any of the various forms that are really kind of important right now, because our world is moving, our reality is changing so quickly. I mean, sometimes sci-fi captures that. You know, escapist fiction leaves me kind of cold. I mean, except for I can't read it. I have to really know what the writer is saying about her world to really buy the premise for sci-fi or fabulism or anything like that. And if I feel like the writer is engaging political, social realities that speak to me as somebody living in 2016 in America, then sometimes it's the best form, you know, I think.
I've actually been sort of not shocked, but surprised that our friends at the New Yorker, from time to time, will tip their toe, or what do we say,
Yeah.
dip their toe into, publishing some fabulism.
Yeah, George Saunders. They've
George,
definitely,
yep.
you know, he sort of broke the barrier
Yeah.
between realism and sci-fi and the various.
Yeah, possibilities, right?
Yeah.
Other voices. Well, I'm going to conclude today by just echoing the sentiment that I really hope that you read, because you got to look at a lot of these questions before we agreed to do this instead.
Yes.
There were so many,
Yeah.
and so many good ones. And, you know, we thank the students that asked for those. And also, they had certainly all just been so grateful to you for taking the time to do this and share this with us. And I just really want to echo that, because it's an awesome thing for you to do, Ann.
Well, my pleasure, and thanks to your students for their wonderful questions and for taking the time to think them through and, you know, write them down.
Very cool. We'll do this again.
All right. Great.
How was that?
It was almost 45 minutes.
Was it? Oh my God.
I wish that I would have played around with the camera a little bit and learned about the zooming and all of that, but I think it was good.
Okay.
I cried a little bit, I have to tell you. There were
Why?
moments. It was just so honest.
Oh.
And you know, I just think you guys it felt like you guys had rehearsed.
Oh.
And it just felt so natural and so honest. And
Actually, I felt
Thank
really
you, Sam.
nervous when we started. I was very